Well, welcome back. This is Paul Fuqua. You're listening to Money Talk 1310 AM, 100.9 FM, and or you're on the streaming of this show on moneytalk1310.com. Besides which, you can find us on YouTube for past editions of the show, and this one will be live on YouTube at the Real Estate PB&J Hour within a day to 48 hours from its completion. I'm now able to welcome my guest, or our guest, with whom Joyce has worked and with whom I've worked over the years, Bobby Bell, who is a certified appraiser in this area. He's been such for 32 years. He has a lot of interests. He's got grown children, or almost grown children. He's a baseball guy, and he's not a car guy, so I don't know how well I'm going to buddy up to him. But he's done a lot of pre-listing appraisals for me and for my clients. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Thank you, Paul and Joyce. Thanks for having me. And first of all, I do like cars. It's got to be a Toyota. I'm not as savvy about you when it comes to cars. We're not knowledgeable.
Okay. Now, your role is as an appraiser, and you are hired, I assume, always, unless it's a pre-listing or it's a inter-family or a divorce or some other issue. But you're hired by a lender. And first, before I get into that, tell us your background, how you became an appraiser.
Well, I was at Old Dominion in 1988, and like most college kids, had no idea what I wanted to do. And then in 1989, I took a real estate class. Dr. Crunkleton was my instructor. And his first thing in the class was he held up his textbook and he said, if you want to learn the real world, you could stay in here. If you want to learn the textbook world, get out of my class. And I said, I like this guy. And from there, I ended up doing an internship with couple of appraisers in the area, Frank Stanfield and David McMillan and Rick Daniel, and the rest is history.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but Bobby and I go back a long time, and there have been occasions when I, as a real estate agent, have been upset with his valuation of a property that I've had on the market and has been sold, and he's come in and given his report to the bank, and the bank is then called and saying, you may want to consider something else. Anyway, all right. Usually an acceptable ratio for a mortgage loan is 80-20. 20% equity, 80%. That's the norm for a conventional loan. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, I've seen people putting 5% down, and then they're lending on 95%. How does that relate to the appraisal?
Well, for us as appraisers, it doesn't matter. We don't look at what the loan amount is. We don't look at how much they're putting down. Or the only thing we're concerned about when we do the appraisal is market value. Okay.
Now, what's the most important thing you need to know when you've been assigned an appraisal by a lending institution?
Well, the first thing we need to know is what's the purpose of the appraisal. Is it going to be a VA? Is it an FHA? Conventional? Those are the factors that come in because we need to know what we're getting ourselves into when we accept the assignment.
Can you tell us a little bit about the differences then? I mean, so an appraisal isn't just the same across the board, regardless of the loan.
Well, most appraisals are the same. It's the only thing when you get into FHA and VA, and like I said before, any type of loan that ends with the letter A, those government loans, you can't do these appraisals as is. Most of the time, there's going to be repairs. On conventional, you can do those as is, and you can make the adjustment for that condition.
Is that so? When within the body of a contract, one of the elements is that the seller will be responsible for a certain dollar amount or percentage of the sales price for appraiser mandated repairs. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, but the problem is we as appraisers, we're not picking, if you will, the repairs. We're not just randomly saying, okay, let's have that done. Everything that we call for to be fixed is within FHA or VA guidelines or even lending guidelines.
Okay, so I want to restate. You don't need to know the full parameters of a contract. You don't even need to know the purchase price. Is that correct?
Actually, we do need to know the purchase price because on every appraisal we do, it's a Fannie Mae appraisal, a Fannie Mae form, I should say. And within that form, it states, have we reviewed the contract? And yeah, we have to put down what the terms of the contract are. Everything from the purchase price, to the ratified date, any closing costs paid. But when it comes to repairs, we don't, as appraisers, we don't get too concerned about what the repairs are stated on the contract. We get concerned about the repairs that we see when we go do the inspection.
Now, do you have to go through classes in order to recognize? Hold on a minute. You've been in this business 32 years, so you've probably seen a little bit of everything. When you look at a repair, do you go to a manual? Does somebody in the dark hollows of government buildings somewhere in D.C. write up what is a repair that you should see and how you should note it?
Well, these repairs, we have the FHA manual, and that's the 4000.1 FHA handbook. So, yeah, we have to abide by that handbook. And within that handbook, it has specifically stated repairs.
What's the most common?
Most common repair is usually rotted wood or peeling paint, and that's mainly on homes built prior to 1978 due to the lead-based paint issue. Roof issues such as leaking roofs, damaged shingles.
Okay. Now, have you ever had a battle with an aggrieved party who's been disappointed in some fashion by the repairs you've mandated?
Never. Yeah. Come on. Oh, yeah, always. We get issues sometimes, but again, it's as an appraiser, and I speak for appraisers on this, we are not just picking and choosing what we want to have done. It's based on the guidelines, and we are the eyes and ears from the lender. And that's what everyone needs to understand is we're doing this for the lender, and we provide photos of everything we do, and underwriters can see these photos.
Actually, I have a question for you. As far as I'm the home seller, right? Would it be beneficial for me to get an appraisal in advance so that I know and I'm prepared in those situations, or would that not be a benefit to me?
I would say in today's market, probably not, just because, as we all know, there's very limited supply, high demand. A lot of people are waiving home inspections. They're waiving repairs. And sometimes I've seen it where the buyers are actually fixing the repairs.
Yeah, we've seen the same thing.
Let me ask, that kind of segues into the next question. Who actually pays? Well, the buyer normally pays for your services, but when it's assigned to you by a lender, what's the very first thing you take when you've gotten an assignment from, say, Town Bank Mortgage to appraise this house in Virginia Beach?
Well, to correct you, the buyer doesn't actually pay for the appraisal. The lender pays for the appraisal. So the buyer, they may pay for it. Sometimes, from what I've seen, the lender will cover the appraisal. But we do the appraisal for the lender. The lender is our client. It's not the buyer. It's not the seller. It's not the listing agent. It's no one else but the lender. Or if it's going to be HUD or VA, that's our client. So they are the ones that pay us for that appraisal. But the first thing we do, to answer your question, is what's the purpose of the appraisal? What are we doing? Am I doing an FHA? Am I doing a VA? Am I doing a conventional? What kind of an appraisal am I doing? If you're an individual, are we doing a date of death appraisal? Are we doing a divorce appraisal, a pre-listing? Those are all the factors that we have to know in order before we accept the assignment.
What's a date of death appraisal? Clue me into that. I mean, is it going to be so bad that I'm going to keel over in shock and die?
No. A date of death is just strictly that, if you have a family member that passed away, and let's just say, for example, they passed away January 1 of this year, and you are part of the estate, you need to get an appraisal for the estate. So the appraisal is going to be active back to January 1 of this year, and our values are based on pretty much everything that happened prior to January 1.
So, the buyer and the seller, they can't select the appraiser?
Not at all. And we can't even discuss anything about the appraisal process with the buyer or seller. And honestly, we're not even supposed to discuss anything with either parties, the agents that are involved. So the only person that we're supposed to discuss anything about the appraisal process is our client, which is usually the lender.
So another thing, something that Paul and I actually have always done for the appraisers, and that is just making sure we have a list of the updates that were made to that home. And I know we talked earlier about renovations and time frames and all that good stuff. So that would be something beneficial for a seller to make sure that they're keeping that information together, right? Is that helpful to you, or is that something you're not even going to look at?
Absolutely, it's helpful. I want as much info as I can have, especially at the time I'm, doing the inspection. I mean, if you have to give it to me prior or after, which is still fine, but the more information, the better, because we need to put these notes in the report and state, what the renovations are. And it's better to know all this now, that rather than turn the appraisal in, have an issue, and then you come back with all this information, because it just opens up a can of worms from there.
Okay, I'm going to go back. I realized the first thing you needed to know was the purpose for which the appraisal is being conducted. But also, what I need to know, what is the next thing you do in the process to research the property? You know that here's an address. You know it's for a new purchase. And what's the next thing you do?
Well, the next thing is, obviously, we have to research everything about the subject that we can, everything from, the legal description, location, and then the big step really is we got to run our own CMA. We have to find our own comparatives, comparables in the area, and do our own market research.
Now, I've always been of the impression, and this is from my early days, somebody hammered it into my thick skull, that the primary consideration for value is the immediate neighborhood in which the house is located. But if you can't find comps that are, because there haven't been that many sales, or because there's nothing, this is a unique piece of property in an otherwise mundane neighborhood, how far out can you go to find comparables to substantiate the value that this contract represents in this house?
Well, you're right. I mean, the first thing we want to do is stay in the neighborhood. That's as I say, location. I mean, I've had agents say to me all the time, oh, you can go to 2, 3, 4, whatever, 5 mile radius. Once you start going outside a mile, you get a little bit of red flags with underwriters. But in today's market, where you have limited sales, I mean, at some point, we've got to go to the next competitive neighborhood, because we need to know, sales are based on what's happening now. I mean, that's what the value is. It's now. It's not what happened 6 months ago. But if you have a unique situation, if you had a 2-bedroom house sitting on the water, and there are no 2 bedrooms on the water, I mean, if you're in Virginia Beach, maybe you'll have to go the whole city to find a 2-bedroom house, on the water.
Okay, that kind of leads into the most important question. What is the single most important aspect of a house, of a home, in terms of its value beyond location? Let's say we know that it's a beautiful location, it's a wonderful neighborhood. What next is the determinant, the basic determinant of its value?
I would probably say without a doubt, is condition. I mean, the way the market is right now, everybody wants that remodeled kitchen, remodeled baths. Those seem to be the big ticket items, and as much renovation as you can have.
I mean, look, you've got a house that's 4,000 square feet of living area over here. You've got a house that's 3,000 square foot living area 2 blocks away. There's 1,000 feet of living area. Is that more important than the condition?
In today's market, the answer could be different tomorrow. But in today's market, condition seems to be the big deal about everything, because I've seen it before where people are paying the same price for a home that's 1,000 square feet smaller, because that one that's 1,000 square feet smaller is in much better condition. Because again, I mean, people are having a hard time today just getting supplies, like you said earlier, and the cost to get stuff done. I mean, it's cheaper to go ahead and spend the extra money, as people are doing, outbidding each other, and then it is to have a contractor come out.
Well, part of that is, and I want Joyce to kind of join in the conversation. We're excluding here, Bobby.
I'm not excluded.
Okay, all right. But the consideration is that, let's say you spend an additional $50,000 for a house that's been more radically improved than the house 2 blocks away in the same neighborhood. That $50,000 is going to cost you over 30 years. It's not going to come out of pocket, correct?
Correct.
Now, as an appraiser, do you take that into effect in giving your, what is it? It's no longer an opinion. What do you call it now? It used to be your opinion as a certified appraiser. It's not an opinion any longer. You've got a different term for it.
No, and now it's it's an estimate of value. I mean, an opinion is, I mean, they had that term a long time ago, but now, I mean, everything we do, and I know you're leading up to what do things add in value and because of the renovations, and everyone keeps looking for that number. What do I get for my bathroom? What does a pool add? What does this add? But everything is market driven. It's not an opinion on what the appraiser thinks, because the market right now, and Joyce, you probably see it too, the market right now, people want pools. People will pay a lot of money for a house with a pool.
My neighborhood, I am not kidding, I've seen at least 8 pools being put in, and every day that I walk, I see something new coming in. It's amazing to me. That used to be, like I said, pretty rare in my neighborhood.
But see, what's interesting is, pre-COVID, pools weren't adding that much.
Right.
And now it just seems like, someone has a pool, multiple offers. I mean, everyone's getting multiple offers, but pools are adding more value.
Well, the old rule of thumb was that you could count on a valuation of 50% of how much of the dollar amount it took to put a pool in. Let me ask another question. What about detached garages and other outbuildings? Do they carry the same kind of weight in valuation as a pool does?
Well, it depends on the neighborhood. I mean, again, everything is market driven, and I can't tell you, oh, this garage is going to give you $10,000. I get the phone calls every week, but it's based on the market. Every neighborhood is different. A converted garage in one neighborhood may be worth more than another. A detached garage in a neighborhood might be worth more. A pool, back to the pools. Pools in certain neighborhoods are worth a lot more than other neighborhoods. So, again, we can't just give, and we don't just give a number. It's market driven.
Okay. Let's say we're talking about Great Neck Point, a very nice neighborhood, close to water. There is waterfront property in there. And we've got 2 houses that are exactly the same. 4,000 feet, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths. They actually were built by the same builder. They both are been maintained assiduously. And one has a pool, one doesn't have a pool. And the one that has the pool, they spent $60,000 for the pool. All right? What value were you going to give to the one that doesn't have the pool?
Well, again, cost doesn't equal market. So we're not concerned about what it costs, because you could have spent $60,000 on a pool and somebody else could spend $100,000 on a pool. But we're not going to know that about the comparables.
What are you going to give the house? What value are you going to give to the house that doesn't have the pool?
It depends on the market. You want to pay me for an appraisal and I'll do it for you. But
this is why I don't like appraisers right there. It depends on the market. Yeah, it's worth what somebody will pay for it. Come on, man. You got a house here that's got a beautiful pool and a house that's exactly the same across the street, doesn't have the pool.
In today's market.
In today's market,
where we were just talking, we know that the value is there now. People are looking for that.
I mean, I can give you an example. I haven't done anything in Great Neck Point recently, but I did one in Lagomar. And I mean, you could pull Lagomar up on you, pull up a Bing aerial photo, and you could count how many, everyone has a pool on the street. You could just look. But I mean, it was upwards of 25 to 30 grand more for the house with the pool.
Okay. All right. I mean,
lifestyles have changed. Yeah. People are home. They're working from home. They've got to entertain their kids whenever they're in the house. So it makes sense why there's so much value.
See, wait a minute. The National Association of Realtors, of which I'm a member, as is Joyce, and which costs us an arm and a leg on a monthly basis. And
so we get these reports.
We get these reports. And the most recent one that Joyce came up and stuck on my desk, and I loved it, is Remodeling Impact Report, which they say, and they say, they give you an idea of what your return will be when you spend money in a remodel. And what we're going to do after the break, we're going to come back and we're going to discuss the value of some of the popular remodeling. This is Paul Fuqua.
And Joyce Carcase. You're listening to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on 1310 AM, 100.9 FM, or on the web at Money Talk 13.10. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Joyce Carcase with Paul Fuqua, and we are back continuing our discussion with Bobby Bell about appraisals. I'm going to let Paul pick up on that next question.
Well, let's say you're on Money Talk 1310 AM, 100.9 FM, or you're listening to us on live stream at moneytalk1310.com. Also, you can always go back to our library of shows at YouTube. Look at, search for, and subscribe to, at no cost, of course, the Real Estate PB&J Hour, and you'll hear all these wonderful people that we've had on the show, including Joyce and myself, and we're the most wonderful of them all.
That's right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this. Now, we're here with Bobby Bell, certified appraiser, and Bobby, there's a lot of stuff that we were touching on, and we're trying to figure out how to value a substantial improvement to a property that makes it different from its next door neighbor. Both are the same houses. Both have exactly the same lots. Both of them were built exactly the same time. Both of them are in primo condition. One has a pool, one doesn't. And you said the answer was what?
Market driven. I mean, there is no specific number to say, okay, and again, I said this earlier, everyone's looking for that number. They want us to give, for 20 grand for a pool or 25 grand. But in that situation, on that day, when I did that appraisal, remember, and we talked about this earlier, everything is based on that day that the appraiser does the appraisal, that date of inspection. The value is that day.
Okay. Yeah, I've always described it as a snapshot in time. And what's the lifespan of an appraisal? Is it good for 3 months? Is it good for a year? Is it good? How long can you rely upon that number as being representative of the value of a house?
Well, if I do it for a lender, say lender A, and lender A, for whatever reason they haven't closed for 30 days or whatever, they'll still use that appraisal. But appraisals cannot be transferred. So, it's not like I can do it for lender A and then give it to lender B. It doesn't work that way. And in terms of the value, I mean, I could do an appraisal like we talked about before. I could do an appraisal in January, and now here we are in April, and I'm sure the value's probably gone up since January.
Well, I guess the other question I've got, and it's one that's always somewhat confused me, is there a master table somewhere of values of a bathroom or a bedroom, or is it all predicated on the price range you're in? Is a bedroom in a $300,000 house worth less than a bedroom in $1 million house when you're making a comparable, and the way it works? Maybe you better first explain exactly how the comparables tie to the value you're assigning to this property. Do that first.
How the comparables tie in?
Yeah. How does it work?
We've got to look at everything. So, again, you said the key word, comparable. So everything we do, if you have a 5,000 square foot house and it's a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, we try to get everything within a certain percentage of that, of the 5,000 square feet. And again, we try to find everything that's comparable. But yes, certain features will add more based on the value as the property as a whole. Again, someone's going to probably pay more for a pool in $1 million home versus a $100,000 house. Pool's probably not going to be worth that much. But, it's not, again, there's no specific number, but yet, certain features and items carry more weight or carry more money based on the value of the home.
Okay.
So for an exterior home, does brick hold more value than vinyl?
In today's market, I can't prove it. I'm seeing in today's market, because of supply and demand. I know it's you hate me having to repeat that, but again, today's market is so different. I've seen people pay more for a vinyl 3-bedroom, 2-bath versus a brick 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, because they missed out on that brick house. It's supply and demand.
Right.
Oh, all right. Now, before the break, if you were listening, we were talking about this National Association of Realtors report on the cost recovery of, it's called the Remodeling Impact Report. And they state in this report that there is a certain percentage of cost recovery for items that you have done in your renovation of your home. And the most astounding thing to me is the one renovation or improvement you can make that provides the greatest cost recovery in comparison to the others is none other than hardwood flooring refinishing.
Yeah, number one.
147% return. So you spend $10,000, you're going to get $14,700 worth of market value, not appraiser value, right? You're the appraiser. You're not going to give any additional value because the floor is refinished.
No, we won't, probably because the market's not going to, prove anything.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. If those floors are done and glisten and they contribute to the overall appearance of the house, it's going to sell for more money than something that's got rundown floors. That's market. That's not appraisal reality. That's market reality.
Yeah, I get that, but see what, and I know you've got the remodeling statistics, but again, as an appraiser, we don't go line item by line item and give someone or values, because they did this. It's everything as a whole. Because again, you could have a remodeled kitchen, and then I don't, and I could have a remodeled bath. There's so many different variables.
The statistics say about a complete kitchen renovation? Joyce, you know that number. You got it right there?
67%.
A kitchen
upgrade.
A kitchen upgrade.
Yeah, it's the kitchen upgrade that we're looking at. No, the complete kitchen renovation is 75%.
Which means that basically their statistics, their studies show that if you spend $10,000, you're going to have a marketable value, a recovery value of 75% or $7,500. That $10,000 doesn't make any sense to me, but other than from a marketing standpoint. If I've got a renovated kitchen, I know I'm going to be able to sell that house much more readily and at a higher price than one next door to it that doesn't have. Bobby?
So, Joyce, could the reason the refinished hardwood floors, because the return is so much better, is it because it doesn't cost that much?
That's right, because you're refinishing. Now, it could cost more. It depends on the condition of the floor.
Well, the study says that if they put new hardwood in, it's only 118%.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You got those eyeballs on me there,
no, it's
Bobby
true.
Bell.
That really caught me off guard at first, because I thought when I first read this that it was just installing new floors, period. That it was the refurnishing. And that's pretty significant, 147% versus 118% for old versus new.
But, again, folks, I tend to be more touchy-feely on this kind of stuff. And my experience has been that if you've got a remodeled kitchen, and I know that what the studies say, but that remodeled kitchen is going to come back to you in a 1-to-1 or better, simply because people appreciate the fact that it's been done correctly. But as long as it's not painted pink, and as long as it's not dark and moldy, if it's done correctly and got the right appliances, and you don't have to have top drawer appliances, you don't have to spend Jen Air and Wolf and that type of thing, but those elements of the property contribute to the overall perception of value, which is what we want. Now, appraisers look at it differently. Go ahead, Bobby.
No, well, I agree because, I've had people actually tell me this, over my years, is they would rather buy a home with a renovated kitchen, renovated bathrooms, new flooring, because then they don't have to worry as much about contractors coming in and out of their house. For them to get whether it's the roof or the windows or the HVAC or the siding repaired, seems that it's easier while they're already living there. But just from my experience, kitchen and bathrooms and flooring are the biggest ticket items.
Okay, wait. This one kind of caught me off guard. How about a closet renovation? Do you add value for a closet? Let's say, you've got the wire rack thing going in the closet versus somebody that actually got California closets.
Okay, well,
installed.
And I'm glad you asked that, because one thing we didn't discuss, which I left out, is everything is based on what's acceptable in the market. So again, that's how we determine value. Is you've got that renovated California closet. Well, if I don't have any sales that can show me whether that closet's going to add value, how am I going to get value? I can't just grab it out of the thin air and just say, I'm going to give you $5,000 for a renovated closet.
Well, wait, I thought you guys had this master manual we talked about. Yeah, you did. You said there was a manual out there. Doesn't it have in there for California? I'm sorry, guys. Appraisers are the bane of a real estate agent's existence, other than in a market such as we have now.
Yeah, we just try to figure them out.
Yeah. Okay, I always make it a point to give appraisers a copy of the survey. Does that help you?
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, anything. Give us everything. And I've heard the horror stories where agents have said, well, the appraiser doesn't want anything because he feels like he or she feels like, well, I'm doing his job. But I personally, give me everything you have. It makes my job so much easier.
All right, you guys out there, if you're behind the wheel of the car, you have Bluetooth, call in at 497-1310, and we'll answer questions, and we can give this appraiser a piece of our mind. Now, you've been 32 years doing this, and I know 32 years ago you had a full head of hair, and you were probably 3 or 4 inches taller. Bobby and I are both vertically challenged, but what do you like most and what do you like least about your job?
Oh, since we're on the radio, I am 3 inches taller. Honestly, the best thing about the job is just getting to see all the different houses. In one day, I've done a house built in 1700s, and I've done a 15,000 square foot house. You can do a small condo. But the least thing I like, underwriting guidelines. There's just too many issues with underwriting guidelines, and unfortunately the way today is, everything is automated underwriting, and a computer doesn't know what we know, and it just makes our job harder.
Actually, I have a quick question I meant to bring up earlier. So during the pandemic, when it was at the height, appraisers, I know that we had a couple, appraisers were actually doing the drive-by appraisal versus obviously going into the property. What kind of an impact did that have overall on values?
I think it's more difficult because doing a drive-by, I mean, you've heard the old thing, don't judge a book by its cover. Mm-hmm. And, Paul and I have talked about this, and Joyce, you and I have talked about the fact that, you drive by a house and the exterior doesn't look good, so you just assume the interior doesn't look good. But you never know. But, I mean, with technology, internet, everything from the MLS system to Zillow, everything, sometimes we can see what the inside looks like based on previous listings, so that helps. But, I mean, I'd still, to this day, I would rather do an interior than do a drive-by.
Because somebody could really miss out if there was some updates in that house prior to, after the fact, you wouldn't know that. Well,
one thing that a lot of people don't know, maybe you two don't know this, but in April, Fannie Mae passed a desktop valuation appraisal, mm-hmm. which... It's conventional only, and I believe it's based on a loan amount. Obviously, credit score, like everything in the loan process, but it's a desktop appraisal where we just sit at our desk and do the research. We don't even go to the property, and we're hoping to find something on the internet that has something about the subject, and we're valuing it based on that.
Wow.
Okay, we're coming down to the last 2 minutes. I don't know about you people out there in radio la land, but I've certainly enjoyed and found very helpful the conversations we've had with Bobby Bell, certified and licensed, but very important that it's certified appraiser who's been in business 32 years. Bobby, quick, give them a number if somebody wants to do a pre-list.
You can reach me at 757-714-2953.
And you are?
Robert Bell.
Appraiser.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening. Joyce, you can say goodbye.
Have a great weekend. We appreciate your listening in to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on 1310 AM, 100.9 FM, or if you've been listening on moneytalk1310.com. Look forward to having you back next week.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel on YouTube, the Real Estate PB&J Hour.